Good evening. This is David Lynn, sometimes known as the Prepper Principal, and you are watching Coffee Talk, 7 p.m. Central Time, Thursday, the 27th of March, number 420. Can't believe I've done 420 of these, or at least since I've been counting them. Uncle Al, how are you doing? I am glad tomorrow's Friday. So you did some homemade pizza, I hear. Bet you it's good. When the live stream is over, I'm having some pork ribs with rice, and can't wait for that. The Bud Files, good evening. Thank you for coming. Please leave a like. It will be greatly appreciated. Well, I was showing 3 likes, and now I'm showing 2. 3 likes. Well, thank you for your ministry, Uncle Al. I appreciate that. I'm sure that the people that you support appreciate you, or they should. It has been raining here all day. Very wet, very wet. I kept expecting to see somebody pass by in a boat. KP Heathen, how are you doing? I have a new thumbnail, which I used on a post. First time I've used it. Used on a post. And you get a chance, go over and look at it. Leave me a comment about what you think about it. It will be greatly appreciated. And it's sort of a cartoon thumbnail. I'm holding a paddle in one hand and a backpack in the other, and I'm near a campfire, and I've got some bottles of water stacked up, and there are chickens around me, and you can see the outdoors in the background. Cute. Cute. Enrique Trevino, thank you for coming, sir. Appreciate your support. Hopefully it will be a good thumbnail that I can use. I'm trying to diversify a little bit my thumbnails. I might have a different thumbnail for different categories. I might have one specifically for live streams, have another one specifically for videos, you know. Uncle Al says to start my shorts with a thumbnail and end them with a thumbnail, and he wants me to start my live stream with a thumbnail and end it with a thumbnail, go back and edit it and such. And that's something that I really need to I do most of my editing. I've got an Apple program, iMovie. That's where I basically do my editing. I have to try to figure out how to edit a live stream, how to do that. Plus, you know, it takes time to do that kind of stuff. I'm sure if you've got professional equipment and you got professional knowledge, you can do a lot of things that I can't do right now. And that's just, that's a new coffee. Well, it says David Lynn Prepper Principal at an angle, and then it's got a campfire, and it's got me holding a paddle in one. I'm dressed like for work. I've got a paddle in one hand. I got a backpack in the other, and you see chickens around. You see chickens around the campfire, and you can see the background. I have to see about that coffee. uh 4 in the house, 5 likes. Yeah, I guess it's got to have coffee for coffee talk. That's true. That's true. Then perhaps that will be a thumbnail for videos or whatever, you know. I like the one that I'm using right now that I go back and put in after the live stream ends. I go back and I make sure that I resize it and everything, that, you know, for right. I like that one. One of my paraprofessionals who's really good with computers and tech and Canva and all that sort of stuff, which I'm not, did that for me, and did the other one for me, did both of them for me. Yes, alliteration. That's a good word. Multisyllable. Oh Lord. Um, Coffee chat. That's not bad. Taco talk. Yeah, I've done taco talks. I've used that name before. I keep going back and forth, you know. Coffee talk, taco talk. Um, Hello, Melinda Elliott. Welcome. Thank you for the thumbs up. So, Mike Crusher, who did he loaded up another video. He loaded up a review. Mike Crusher loaded up a review, and I viewed it. It's a nice review. One of the new current MREs that they have out, the U.S. military MREs. They've done some changes. They've done some packaging changes. It was a very good video. He turned me on to a new site, gpmrefoods.com, and said he paid $95 for a case. I think it was case B or B case, number case B, of MREs that are brand new out last year, and they've got a 2024 review date, or a 2027 review date. Case of 12 MREs for $95. That's a good deal. You haven't seen that in a long time. A new case. I went over and said, I'm going to go buy one. Clicked on it, sold out. And then I went further down. I was looking through it, and it says, well, they got a case A and a case B for like $150, like about $150. And right now, you go to Amazon, you'll pay about $150 for one case. But case A and a case B, which is all 24 of the, sold out. So, yeah. Mom of 4 boys. Welcome, Mom of 4 boys. Thank you. Rachel. Trying to let a few more people get into the stream. We're about 10 minutes in. MRE, Mr. E, as in the mystery of that'll be in it. Meals ready to eat, MRE, meals ready to eat. It's what they call a military ration. The type that the soldiers have in the field, or they use for, you know, sometimes you'll have the government give them out in emergencies. They more like do the FEMA type rations, the low sodium. They don't normally have beverages. They're usually all vegetarian because of religious preferences and such. Um, like the U.S. military, they put out what they call a halal, which would be acceptable to a Muslim. Kosher, which would be acceptable to somebody who's Jewish. Your traditional MREs, which is just the generic MREs. And because usually Christians don't have the, well, I can't eat pork, or I can't eat this, or I can't eat that, you know. Now Catholics will give up stuff for Lent, or they might eat fish on Fridays during, you know, Lent season, you know, when they're coming up towards Easter, what the Jews refer to as Passover. And but you know, as far as you know, the vast majority of the troops and such that would be involved would just the regular meals. And they've got what they call meal cold weather. I like those meal cold weathers because the main in them is freeze dried. It's like a mountain house freeze dried, and those mains will last you forever. They'll last 30 years. Whereas, you know, MREs, depending on how they're stored, they don't last that long. And if you store them, you know, out of the heat in a climate controlled area, 70-ish degrees, they'll last you for a long time. Read an article about K rations back in World War II and how long soldiers stretched them out when necessary. Pre-retirement days. Hello, pre-retirement days. Thank you for the likes. 8 likes. 7 in the house. So as I had mentioned, I have a new thumbnail, and I used it for a post that I did. So if you go onto my post, my community wall, you will see my latest thumbnail that a young lady who works with me did for me. It's a nice one. It is humorous. It's the, you know, prepper principle. I'm holding a paddle in one hand. I'm holding a backpack in the other. I'm dressed for school. There's a campfire. You can see in the distance a bunch of chickens around the campfire with me because everybody knows I have chickens. It's nice to get to see bottles of water over in the corner, you know, prep type, you know, stack some water and water jugs. Nice cartoon, you know, nice cartoon. Friend put together for me using, I think, Canva, which I need to learn. I need to learn some on Canva because that's a good thing. And Enrique, 1 Timothy 4 said something about those who teach abstinence from foods and forbid marriage, but I don't know how Catholics get around that one. Well, I don't want to get into. I had somebody drop my channel and was really offended because I talked a little bit about the history of the Catholic Church. And I don't want to offend anybody. I mean, everything I said was absolutely true. For the first 1,000 years of the church, Christianity and the church, Catholic priests were allowed to marry. And usually during the later years, after the fall of the Roman Empire, usually the younger son of somebody of nobility or somebody of substance, the eldest son would normally inherit, what they call primogeniture. Uh, the second son would usually go to the military. The third son would usually go to the church. And you had somebody of wealth. They didn't want. They would leave their children. Some of their, even their oldest son would inherit the bulk usually, but they would leave some. So for those they wouldn't be poor, they would leave either some income, or they'd leave something to their younger sons. And priests normally would be married, and it would say a priest should have but one wife and all that. But during the Middle Ages and around the beginning of about the end of the first 1,000 years of Christianity, a pope came up with the idea, well, an illegitimate child cannot inherit. So if a priest has children that are illegitimate, they can't inherit. So if you prevent a priest from marrying, and they still like women, and they have relations with the woman, and they have like a mistress or whatever, or a concubine, and they have a child, that child is not considered legitimate. So they can't inherit. And that was the reason why the church did that. Because you had people of wealth, and they wanted what they had to go to the church. They did not want it to go to. They wanted to build up the church lands and the church properties and the church monies. And so if somebody passes away, they didn't want it to go to children. They wanted it to go to the church. And that's one of the reasons. That was the main reason that they did that. Because if you look at church history, or Christianity, or history of the Catholic Church, priests were married. But I don't want to, and I got somebody really upset with me by saying that. Buying space, Myra. Hello, Myra. Dark Ages, whatever you want to call it, Uncle Al, Dark Ages. This is after the fall of the Western Roman Empire. The Western Roman Empire reportedly fell in 476 A.D. Anno Domini. A.D. is Anno Domini, which basically translates as the year of the Lord. People that are not Christian, they will say CE, which they say Common Era. So they say Common Era. They don't want to say AD, so they say Common Era, CE. And then the Eastern Empire fell in 1453. The Eastern, they called it the Byzantine Empire, the eastern half of the Roman Empire, it fell in 1453. And I could get into a lot of history on that, because I'm one of the areas that I have studied and know a lot about. So let's get into the main subject, or the topic for this evening. Again, this topic was provided for me a few days ago, and I hadn't done a live stream. It's been a little while since I had done a live stream, and the topic basically is going to be on inflation. Talk a little bit about inflation. Why do we have inflation? What is inflation? Inflation is prices rise. Money's not worth what it was. You can buy less with it. You can't buy what you bought with it previously. The idea of, and one of the reasons why we're in the shape that we're in, is the government spending too much. They're printing too much money. The more money you print and put in circulation, the less it's worth. You know. And they're borrowing too much. Right now, the government is spending $2 trillion more, or a little over $2 trillion more, $2 trillion more a year than it brings in. And we can't keep doing that. You print money, it devalues it. It devalues money. That's the reason why money's not worth what it was. You can't buy with it what you used to be able to buy with it. It devalues money. Another thing, too much debt. Food, forest, permaculture. Hello, Howie. Thank you for coming. So, you look at the value of stuff. Look at the value, like if you own a home, whether it's paid for, you have a mortgage or whatever, you own a home. You own a home that was built 50 years ago. Standard home, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-car garage, decent starter home or lower middle class home, whatever, brick home, whatever. 4-sided brick, built back in the days when they were putting brick on all 4 sides as a siding. And my home was built in 1966, I believe. 66 or 67. My memory is not what it used to be. Mine was built at that time. When my home was built, it was outside the city limits of Victoria. You had a septic system and you had a water well. It wasn't a deep water well. The water was hard, but it was a water well, so you had water. And they had city electricity. Didn't have any gas. It was all electric. Now, at that time, that house, which was built, probably cost, I'd have to look to it, but we're talking under $30,000. I'd say under $30,000. When I moved here 20 years ago and I bought the place, hadn't been updated. It was like the original floor tile, original bathrooms, original kitchen, everything. Pretty much original. They had replaced the roof. They had replaced the air conditioning system, same ductwork, but I paid about a little over $100,000 for the place when I bought it 20 years ago. So we're talking 2005. Right now, if I wanted to sell the place, and it's been updated, it's been updated. I've done a lot of update work on it. I could sell it for about, it's embarrassing to say what I could sell it for. I could sell it for probably about $300,000. I could certainly ask that for it. And we're talking over a period of 20 years. So you're talking about $30,000 when they built the thing, and now right at $300,000. And we're talking $50 some odd years later. 55, 56 years later. So think about that. Joseph Moore, thank you for coming, Joseph. Best wishes to the family. Oh yeah, they have just the price and the value has just been what they value stuff at is just going through the roof. And that's not like a, you know, this is a 4-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-car garage, 1,500 square feet of living space on a corner lot, about 3/4 of an acre. But I mean, just it's outrageous. And everything's been going up. Everything's been going up. The value of money. The value of money. It's not it's not what it was. Right now, they say a penny. A penny is worth a penny. There are 100 of them in a dollar. Get them rolls of 50. It costs about 3.5 cents to make a penny right now. They're talking about doing away with pennies. They're not going to. They'll keep using them, but they're talking about not making more of them. You know. In order to mint a penny, it's about 3.5 cents. The cost of it. If that's what they say. So that's one of the things that they're talking about saving money, is that they're not going to print, or they're not going to produce pennies the way they were. It's a denomination that, at one point in time, there was a denomination of coin called a mill. It was 1/10 of a penny. Way back in the days. 1/10 of a penny. No longer made. But it was a denomination of coin. 1/10 of a penny. 10 of them to make a penny. Think about that one. Think about that one. 9 watching and 12 likes. Thank you, Kalal. The price of oil controls the petrodollar. There was a big oil embargo back in the 70s. Right about the end of the Vietnam War. Mid-70s. OPEC. The Organization of Petroleum Producing States, or something like that. They had an embargo. They embargoed oil. And oil went, the price of gasoline, the price of everything went through the roof. Interest rates went through the roof. When Carter was in office, and he was getting ready to go out of office around 1980, you had a $100,000 certificate. You were making like 15%, 16% interest on it. It didn't stay that way. But at one point, the interest rates were like so high, you know. And that was your petrodollar, you know. And I mean to tell you, they're wanting to ration gasoline. They had stations that were out of gas. People were waiting in line to get gas, and they'd run out of it. Back in the day when I was a kid. That's a good question. What will we pay people for their thoughts if they do away with the penny? Well, that's like, they talk about dropping dime on somebody. Back in the day, you paid 10 cents to make a phone call. And then it was a quarter. And then it was 50 cents. You know? They had these phone booths, like Superman goes into the phone booth and comes out, dun, dun, dun. You know, back in the days. They don't have those phone booths anymore. I don't, at least around here they don't. You know, they've done away with a lot of stuff. They've done away with a lot of stuff. They're constantly coming out with stuff I've never heard of. I'm always the last one to learn. You know, like they had a program and it's that the government was using it. It wasn't just all of a sudden this phone call that they had like 18 people on. All of a sudden the Trump administration invented it and was using this, and somebody got onto the line or somebody got invited into the messaging or whatever that they had. Somebody got into it that really wasn't authorized to be there. Somebody got invited or something other happened, and there was somebody in there that up to no good and wound up publishing all this crap, trying to hurt the Trump administration. And then you've got they're doing hearings and everything now, or they're beating them over the head with it. They're beating them over the head with it. They're all incompetent and they're all this and they're all that and all the other. You know, and I'd never heard of it. Never heard of the program, but it was like a program that they use. You know, and they've got all sorts of programs that they use for teleconferencing, like Skype. I think Skype is one of them. I've heard of that one, and they got some others. I go to meetings at school sometimes, special ed meetings, and they'll have the parent or they'll be contacting somebody at another campus because we're in middle school and they're got somebody from the high school, and you can see their image. You're projecting, they're projecting. Got cameras, and you can see them. You're talking to them, you can see them in real time. We didn't have that technology. Didn't have anything near that technology. Yeah, Atlantic Monthly, and from what I understand, they can't stand the administration. Yeah, it was a journalist drifting. Oh, I'm sorry. Maybe I should be playing Driftway. Sorry. But we're just talking about. There are those who would tell me, have a topic and stick to that topic, and that's all you talk about. And I'm not what you call a super professional operation. We just talk about what we want to talk about. Somebody mentions something other, wants to talk about something other, has information to provide, have at it. And I don't hope to offend anybody. Zoom, yeah, that's another one, Zoom. Zoom calls. I don't use any of that. I mean, I don't use I've got my daughter, my wife and I, we all have Apple phones, and I don't do like FaceTime or whatever they call it. I don't do any of that stuff. I call. I usually do hands free, got it on speaker. We can talk to each other. I know what my daughter looks like, and I know what my wife looks like. They know what I look like. But anyway, during the pandemic, some people even carried out court proceedings via teleconferencing, judge on one screen, lawyer on another, etc. Yeah, like they wanted to do education over Chromebooks and computers. They had kids that said, stay home, it's not safe, don't want you in the school. And they had the teachers, and the teachers were doing lessons that they were doing like podcasts, and they were doing lessons where the kids would connect. But you have to have a lot of cloud to do that. You have to have a lot of gigs, or whatever the above the gigs are, in order to do that. Like you've got a server, or you've got a network. The more people on it, depending on what how it is, it slows it down. During the pandemic, when you had um, all the people staying home, you had 3 or 4 times the amount of traffic, and it would slow things down. There wasn't enough capacity for the amount of traffic, you know. And they've caught up and they've expanded and they're doing a lot more than they were and things are better than it was, you know. But you still dealt with stuff like that. So the idea from the topic, which I've skewed away from, I apologize, is inflation, the price of things, the value of things going up. Well, for one thing, um, what is the value of something? Well, what will the market bear? What will people pay for it? You know, if you want to charge $50,000 for a moderate price car, I mean, the cheap ones now I think are around 30, 35,000. The little cheap cars, the little small things. You buy a new one, they're $35,000. It's the least expensive imports you can get. And then you can get them like super, super, super expensive, you know. Let's just say you go and you want to buy a $50,000 car. Well, at one time you pay that for a house, you know. I mean, you can buy vehicles like people buy these trucks, 4-door trucks, 350 engine or 305 engine or whatever you want to say, nice trucks, the big automakers, and they're charging $75,000-$80,000 for a truck. Could be more, could be more. Shoot, could be $100,000 for a truck. Top of the line Ford or a Chevy or one of these super. They say that I think the Dodges are the lesser expensive. You can get a better deal on Dodge than on the other two, the big three, And but hell, that's what I paid for my house 20 years ago. A house, just about. And you want to talk about paying that for a truck? We're not talking about an 18-wheeler. Those are probably close to $1 million. One of those semis or whatever. Just outrageous. Everything's just the price of everything. Loaf of bread, a gallon of fuel, etc. on the year you were born or the year you graduated high school versus present day. Well, that's true. You can talk about what you want. Well, when I was a boy, I can remember, and now we're talking over 50 years. We're talking 50 years ago. I can remember the price of gasoline being like 28, 29 cents a gallon. It had lead in it. Gasoline at that time had lead in it. Leaded gasoline. 28, 29 cents. Before the embargo. I think gas went up to about $1 a gallon when they had the embargo. It's like 4 times as much as it was before the embargo, while the embargo was on. And you talk about what was the price of this or that when I was a boy. Well, I'll give you an example because my mother used to talk about, and my mother was 40 when she had me. Parents were married for 21 years before I was born. I'm an only child, miracle baby. But my mother, if she were alive today, she'd be over 100 years old. She'd be 102, 3 years old. 103 years old. So when she was a girl, little girl. She would go to the movies. And movie ticket was a nickel. Popcorn was a nickel. A soda was a nickel. And it shocked her when it went up to 6 cents. Because it had a rise. And so we're talking 85, 90 years ago. What do you pay for a movie ticket today? What do you pay for popcorn today or a soda today? I haven't been to a movie in years. The wife went to a discount, when the wasn't in the evening but went afternoon type, went to a movie. Paid about $7 for a ticket. Wasn't prime time, date time. Just $7 for a ticket. And I can remember back 40 years ago, I'd pay $1 to go to a movie. I can remember when it went up to like $3. First run movie. But I'd pay $1 to go to a movie. $1.50. We're talking 40 years ago. So yeah, prices have really gone up. Money's not worth what it used to be. North of $10 for a ticket depending on the theater. Yep. All right, talk about selling stock in Tesla. What they don't understand. What the ignorant people do not understand. Elon Musk owns about 13% of the Tesla stock. Tesla's traded publicly. So Elon Musk, and Tesla could be called a $1 trillion company. Not billion, trillion, like 1,000 billion. And the prices are down like $100 a share. I think prices are like around $275 a share right now. Do you think you're hurting Elon Musk? People are selling their Teslas. Okay, well, they're selling them at a discount. They're allowing somebody who'd like to have a Tesla, they'd like to have an EV car, making it possible for people who don't quite have $50,000 to pay for a new one. They're allowing them to buy cars. They're letting them have Teslas. Do you think you're hurting Elon Musk? He owns just under 13% of the Tesla stock. And the prices are going back up. I heard it hit like 225 at one point. Now it's back up to around 275, 276. They're going back up. But who do you think you're hurting? When you go and you vandalize a Tesla vehicle, or you go and you vandalize a dealership, or you go and you do it's insured. They're going to get their money for it. You're hurting everybody because they spread the cost by raising rates. So everybody, like out in California, it happened out in California. The big fire destroyed part of Los Angeles or suburb or whatever. Billions and billions of dollars of damage. What do you think the insurance companies are going to do? The ones that have to pay out. They're going to spread around everybody else. People on the East Coast are going to have their insurance going up because of the stupid people who didn't invest and make sure that they had working water mains and such when they needed to pump water for the fires. Sometimes, you can't reason with these people. You can't reason with them. It may hit 2K. Well, and that's true. Hello, little lone prepper. Didn't see you come in. I'm sorry I've been talking. I have been told to get a wing person, a consistent wing person. Yeah, and that's the other thing. They're catching these people. Oh, they're going to be spending 20 years in prison when they get through with them. They're catching these people. They're catching they've caught a bunch of them. They're catching people keying Teslas. You got these stupid people my age, or almost my age. I mean, who's going to key a car? I have never in my life thought about keying somebody's car. Never even thought about it. And I'm not a saint, but I'm not going to vandalize somebody's property. Nope. Think about that. Think about it. 9 in the house. Domestic terrorists. Yes, they are. They're being declared terrorists. I hope they start. Well, and you got these. I was looking at somebody had done a cartoon image. It had the astronaut. It had the astronauts, and they'd splashed down, and it had this idiot judge demanding or ordering that the 2 astronauts be returned to the space station. And I just laughed my head off, like they want us to return all those thugs, those gang member thugs that we deported, that they're in prison now somewhere down in Central America. That idiot judge wants them brought back to the United States. And the Supreme Court is going to have to get involved. I heard on the Chuck Schumer was talking about that in 4 years under Obama, they had put 235 woke judges. That the Democrats had been able to put 235 judges on the bench. 235. Can you imagine the damage these people are causing? Not to mention the fact of just the rule, like when they have like federal cases for stuff, just the regular stuff that doesn't involve the federal government. Just some of the rulings that these bonehead judges are coming up with. So they're talking about wanting to get rid of the judges. They're talking about wanting to, can they impeach them, or can they recall them, or whatever. And then they're saying, well, the Supreme Court can basically put a kibosh on it, because what they have to basically do is they have to hear one of these cases in a hurry and basically say, nope, you can't interfere with the government deporting, criminals or illegals or whatever. If an illegal is considered, if it's considered, if you didn't come in the right way, you can be sent home. Then if the Supreme Court comes up with the ruling, then it shuts the damn liberal judges up. You'd hope they'll do that pretty quick. Like saying that they can't let people go. You need a Supreme Court ruling saying, nope, if the executive branch employees can be let go by the executive branch. Don't have anything to say about it. Yeah, Lincoln did that. And FDR used the ruling that used that law that they don't like to talk about because it's a couple 100-year-old law. FDR used that law during World War II on the Japanese. Now, I'm not saying that that was certainly not right. Okay, But as far as trying to deport criminals, which probably 80% of the population agrees with, they need to stop fighting that one. You know, you want to fight grandma who's been here for 50 years and she came over illegally and she's not technically a citizen. And her grandkids are here and they are all born here and she's been here forever and she's like 75 years old. I certainly wouldn't be trying to deport grandma. But if they came over in the last 20 years and they're illegal, I'm sorry. Vaya con Dios. Yeah, that's true. If they did. That is true. They're real big on wanting to have a war, but they don't want their kids to go. They want the poor people's kids to go. Not their kids and not them. Oh, yeah, they're quick to want to fight, the warmongers. They're quick to want to start a war, you know. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And like Antifa and BLM, they need to start rounding them up. They know who they are. They need to start rounding them up. All the damage that they did in the last 10, 12 years, the crap that they did, all those riots that they had, they didn't prosecute them. Well, hell, prosecute them. Lock them up or deport them. The area that we have in Cuba, Gitmo, we got a lot of space over there. Got a lot of land around it. Start increasing the size of Gitmo. Start putting them over in Gitmo. Keep them over there for a couple of years. Teach them, hey, you want to be in prison for the rest of your life? Give them a harsh prison term. Let them spend a year or two. Okay, any more of your crap? We're not going to let you out the next time. I guarantee you, you'll make a believer out of a lot of them. Oops, I'm being cautioned. Careful. Danger, Will Robinson. Danger. Danger, Will Robinson. So, one of my friends who's got a huge growing channel suggested that I use my backup channel for a month. Do my live streams, do my videos, put out my shorts, and use my backup channel and let my main channel rest. And that the algorithm, when I go back to it, would be a lot kinder to me. Let it just rest for a period of time. I'm thinking about it because I do have a backup channel. And I've got so much stuff loaded up on it, private mode. Shorts, videos, all sorts of stuff loaded up on it. That I could be releasing stuff. I don't even have to create anything new. I could be releasing stuff. And right now, my backup channel has like 56 subscribers. And I mean, the main channels that support me, I'm already subscribed to them, I'm probably subscribed to about 100 channels on my backup channel. But, I could probably get my backup channel over 100 in a period of a month. I could probably get my backup channel over 100. And that way it's like a decent quantity. And I'm sure that my main channel would probably continue to grow a little bit. People watch your stuff and all. I'm thinking about it. I don't know what y'all think. Yes, stuff is more expensive, and it'll continue going up until they. Now, reportedly, all of the voodoo that's going on, if they can cut that voodoo out and weed that out and stop spending that voodoo money and just spend it on what legitimate stuff, it'll cut way down on the amount of deficit spending. Might clear it up, you know, if you can weed out a couple of $1 trillion a year. Might clear it up. You can certainly do a lot better than you're doing now. But they're fighting them. They are fighting to try to prevent them from doing that. I don't understand that. Yeah, I know the last administration caused it. Yeah. A lot of the things, decisions were being made and things are being made in Biden's name he probably didn't even know about, cognitively challenged as he was. All this auto pen stuff. He probably didn't even know about stuff that was going on. And I'm not excusing him. Yeah, entertainment purposes. This is kind of like sometimes Uncle Al will say something indiscreet, and then he'll start talking about, fantasy and comedy and, fiction, you know, telling a story, fictional story, or whatever. Yeah, it's a good idea. But I have been like just a little bit about channel update about me. I work during the day. I get up in the morning. I've been fixing food, leaving for my wife for breakfast, or food for me for breakfast. Coming in the evening, like we got ribs this evening, rice. I'll be eating after I finish. Been eating a lot at home. Spend lots of money on groceries for good meats and various things. But I haven't been eating out, like takeout food, near as much as I was. Very little. Like in the last week, hardly any, you know. And that takes time. Come home at the end of the day, spend an hour, hour and a half cooking, trying to get whatever. And a lot of times, what I'll do is I'll prepare breakfast in the evening so that it'll be, just have to heat it in the morning. And I'll be doing like a breakfast and I'll be doing supper. So I have not had the time to put into the channel and do the things I need to do. I haven't had the time to do it. And I haven't been giving watch time to the people that yeah, a lot of shorts. There are people who put up a lot of shorts. Uncle Al, he puts up 20 shorts a day, it seems like sometimes. And I mean, I feel like it's like a losing term because I put up 2 and maybe sometimes 3, and he's probably put up 10, which I enjoy them. His shorts are better than mine anyway. Usually his food shorts are pretty much, a lot of times, it's at least the stuff that he's prepping versus what I'm prepping. A lot of stuff, like I'd say that my takeout shorts are better than his home cooked shorts in some ways. Some of it, not all of it, but some of it. Most of his stuff is better than mine. I'll give him props. Say, bow down to Uncle Al's. He deserves a lot more subscribers than he has, and he's got a lot more subscribers. He's got 500 plus subscribers more than I have. So I don't bear him any wool, and he is basically mentors me, and he tells me a lot of things that I need to be doing and such. Me like Jesus. I'm far from Jesus, but I could try to tell stories, and I do tell stories. Back in the day, you're drifting. Stick to topic. Don't reminisce. I catch it for that. At some point, I might be as professional as I've been told to be. And but anyway, tomorrow is Friday. I will try to do another live stream tomorrow. Got the weekend coming up. Oh, thank God this week has passed by fairly fast. I'm tired. I'm tired. Got a couple more weeks of school before we get out for the Easter or the Passover. Well, Passover, they're going through Passover right now. It's coming up. But as far as the Christian Easter, that's in a couple of weeks. Got a couple more weeks of school before I get out for that. Then I'll have like a Friday and Monday, so I have a 4-day weekend. I'm doing a 5K giveaway. See new video. Well, that's good, Uncle Al. A 5K. He's like halfway there. When I get another 2,500 subscribers, I'm going to do a 5K video giveaway. I will be doing a 1,900 subscriber giveaway. I want to hit 1,900. I'm at 1,865 right now. 35. I need 35 more. I'll be doing a 1,900 subscriber giveaway, and it'll be a real nice box, including a real nice medical first aid with it. So please, if you want to have an opportunity to be in the drawing, and I had 14 people last time in the drawing, leave me a like and a supportive comment on each of the last 5 videos I will have released when I hit 1,900. I haven't been releasing that many videos, but I've released a few more than I was releasing. So I'm trying to do 1 or 2 videos a week. Sometimes I go for 2 weeks without doing a video, but I'm trying to do 1 or 2 a week. My Coffee Talk Newses. My boxes that sometimes I'll do, my goodie boxes. I did a coffee, made coffee with a camp stove. I bottled up some water, prepping water, 3-gallon jug, 1 gallon. Did a video of that. I'll try to do some more stuff. Keep threatening to do a MRE review. It's been a while since I've done an MRE review. So everybody, Idaho Garden Girl, thank you for coming. I know she's been busy with her animals. She's got a lot of stuff that she has to take care of. I appreciate you coming in, Stephanie. You're catching me right at the very end. Mike Crusher Reviews. Hello, Mike. Another good guy. Everybody in here is good people. I watched that video, Mike, and I hit that button at the end, time-stamped it. I worked the whole thing. Very good. Love your reviews. I tried to get, I went over and I was going to order. I went to GP MRE Foods. They're out of those cases for $95. They're also out of the case A, case B combos. Went to that one too. They're out of it. Good deals like that, sales like that, they go in a hurry. They don't last. They go. So that happened. Preparedness suggestions, umbrellas, raincoats, ponchos, rain boots, etc. That's right. Today it was very wet. I had my teachers and paras walking around barefoot. Not me. Not me. But there were people walking around in my room or through my room because I got the restroom for the building in my room. People coming in barefoot. Walking around. I wouldn't be walking around barefoot. Their socks were wet. Their shoes were wet. They stepped in a puddle or whatever. Don't want to do that. But, I tell people, take spare socks with, especially if you're a woman and you carry one of these huge purses. It's like carrying a pack. Take a spare set of socks. Get your socks wet. You get wet. Don't put some dry socks on. Help you. Or you can, my building has 4 rooms. It used to be it basically was the art building. Now there are 2 art classes. There's my class, and then there's the instructional coach's office, which is a classroom, but they use it for meetings and for the ICs. There's 1 restroom in the building, and that's in my back of my room. We got a restroom. And some people use my restroom. Teachers and ICs and such. They don't let their kids from the 2 art classes do not come into my restroom. They got to go out of the building into the main building to go to the restroom. But my kids in my unit get to use that restroom to explain. But Mike, I like that review, that the one you just uploaded. And I tell you what, Viper GTS he's really hitting them. He's trying to go through that whole case. He's hitting, he's doing reviews. He's released 7 or 8 reviews in the last week or 10 days. He's really knocking them out. And I've been watching his too. Like both you guys. But he went for months without doing a review. There's a number of channels that I've got like notifications, but they're not putting out anything. They stopped. And it's the same thing with Steve89, who's the GOAT of reviews, got 2 million, 3 million subscribers. He'll go for months without putting out a review, and then he'll put out a couple. You know. And by the end of the first day, he's got hundreds, like 200,000 views or whatever. Now and he makes money on that. I'm sure he's making money. His reviews are usually about 20 minutes. Oh, yeah. You know, yeah. He's making money. Yeah. I could walk on water if it was frozen, thick enough, and I didn't slip and slide and land on my butt. Okay. So, I'll post hopefully tomorrow that I'm going to do another. Go over to my community posts. Look at my new thumbnail. One of my parents put up a thumbnail, and I'll start using it. It's a nice one. It's got me dressed school clothes, got a paddle in one hand, I got a backpack in the other. You've got some bottles of water stacked. You've got a flame, got a fire going. Chickens around the fire, and you can see space in the distance. You know, it's nice. My friend put together for me. I like it. It's cute. You know, cute. JC. Hello, JC. Welcome. Thank you for coming, JC. So, prepper for life. Okie doke. Well, I will just say, when you get up in the morning, thank God for the day. Take your medication, drink your coffee, say the Lord's Prayer, treat people the way you want to be treated, be right, lead by example, treat people the way you want to be treated. Life is good, but it is what it is. And hopefully y'all can join me tomorrow for another edition of Coffee Talk. And check out my thumbnail on my post, community post. That's the new thumbnail that was done for me. I really like it. And hopefully I'm going to start using it some. Everybody, thank you for being here. And try to stay dry. It's really been raining here in Victoria, Texas. Bye-bye.